Hello, Internet. Welcome to episode number 290 of the Comic Watchers Show. He's Chad, I'm Matt, and this is our show where we chat about comics. So, Chad, how are you tonight, sir?
Oh, hanging in there. Getting ready for next week in the holiday season.
Yay, the holiday season. Well, at least
Holiday season.
that's right. Say hello to our guest. This is Mr. Payhuan Shiao of Immortal
Hello,
Studios.
guest.
And
Hello, hosts. I guess we're doing this today. Hello, hosts.
Jazz hands.
baby. So, Paywan, thank you very much for hanging out with us tonight for the next hour
Thank
and talking
you.
about Immortal Studios and the Assassin G Mythos.
Yes, one of
So,
my favorite topics.
yeah, I imagine so. So you've got a Kickstarter going on right now for this thing, but for those who may not be familiar,
Kickstarter right now, we're at I think we're nearing 80%. So
that's exciting.
this is our 13th issue of comics that we're doing. We're doing. So yeah, we've been busy.
Very cool, man. So tell us a little bit about Immortal Studios.
Immortal. Well, first of all, I'm a major geek, and I've geeked out in many things. One of the biggest things I've geeked out on, is the martial fantasy genre, which I grew up with.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a form of. It started as a form of literature. So I'm a big fan of that particular genre, and I've always wanted to bring it to the Western mainstream world that I also grew up in. So Immortal is an ode to this wuxia genre, which my father is credited as one of the top four in the past 150 years. He's one of the four pillars of this. That's, I would say, the major pop cultural export of Asia. This happens to be also the top performing wing of anime and manga.
Oh, wow.
So it's to really bring that kind of storytelling, that ethos, into the comic book world, and we've been doing it for the past four and a half years, creating an interconnected world where all the various subgenres, from like where Bruce Lee's at, where Jackie Chan is at, where Jet Li is, to where Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, or The Matrix, or The Monkey King, and all of the above. So we actually created an interconnected world where the ethos of those particular pillars are realized in one shared universe. And Assassin G is one of the major stories of this core ethos.
So you kind of mentioned it, but what is your history with comic books? Growing up and reading them, and
Yes, well,
remember the first ones.
Yeah, my gateway drug was Wolverine and X-Men. So
My man.
that got me involved in the comic world, and then also the independent. I was a big ElfQuest fan. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
ElfQuest was one of my favorite stories. I never imagined that I would end up working in comics, but several years ago, when I was, by background, I was also a movie producer and a film financier, so I was always interested in telling stories. But I just fell in love with the medium of comics, because you could be so, we could be as creative as we possibly can be on a page without having to pay billions of dollars in production budgets and costs. So the ability to tell the stories that I wanted to, and to do it in a fashion that really captures like characters, tone, the minutia of stories and characters. It was just a beautiful medium. So I came into the comic business 5 years ago. I had some really great partners and supporters who, welcomed our journey.
So how is it? Was there a transition coming from movies into comic books, or was there a learning curve? Or
There was a massive learning curve, but it was a beautiful transition. I loved the comic industry where people are just really supportive and helpful. and also very invested in the storytelling itself, and also the community of fans. We've had multiple outings at Comic-Con and WonderCon, and just have had great conversations and experiences, frankly, all over the world with the comic industry.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're not exclusively in comics. We're in the process of, for instance, Assassin G is in the process of being developed as a animated feature film. We'll be making that announcement shortly next year.
Oh, it's exciting! Congratulations.
Yes, it's really exciting. So it's really bringing all of these different medium together. So it's the comics, the films, the short form content, the animation, the games. I love all of them, and just really proud that we were able to find our first footing through the comic community that enabled us to do all the other things to follow.
Right. That's excellent. So how do you balance your time exactly? Because it sounds like, well, as we were saying before we started recording, you wear a lot of hats.
I do.
And have a lot of plates spinning.
Well, my days are always interesting. It goes from one thing to the next, but I'm just deeply committed and love the stories that we get to share, and however I can support them through my day, through my times. Of course, it's also teamwork.
Sure.
We work with really great artists, editors, and people who help on every side. So we've been able to put together, for instance, like our book Assassin G right now is actually edited by Bob Harris, who at one point was the only human who's been editor-in-chief of both Marvel and DC. So he played, through veterans like him, and also our head of publishing, Hank Knaltz, who performed a similar job for DC. We've been able to really build our business with some really well-worn leaders in this industry. So I defer to them on industry knowledge. For me, it's just like I talk about the stories that we're really committed to and that inspire us.
So why don't you give us a overview of Assassin G and kind of the inspiration behind it?
Sure. Assassin G was actually written by my father in the 70s. My father, his name is Xiao Yi, and it first existed as newspaper daily columns on Chinese language newspapers all over the world. That's how he made his living. He wrote kind of like in the way that comics are served up one time as dailies. So he wrote a little piece of the story every day. He wrote it over, I think, 3 or 4 years because it was quite a lengthy novel. It was first known as Gan Shi Jiu Mei in Chinese, so Gang, the 19th sister. The story is of an assassin who develops a conscience as she's executing the enemies of her master. And halfway through these executions, she falls in love with the enemy and realizes that her master maybe also be at fault. So now she has to make a choice. So this is it's considered one of the most popular wuxia novels of its time.
Mm-hmm.
And it developed a huge fan base. It was turned into a radio play and eventually was adapted for television. And it was one of the most successful Chinese martial arts television shows ever. In fact, in 1999, when it aired, it had a 90% viewing rate across all television households.
Wow,
so we estimated that it was watched by over 1 billion people.
That's incredible.
It is incredible. It's like, this is what ChatGPT is still telling me about the marketing matrix. So
yeah.
So this kind of set a new standard. It was so big. It was beyond big. So that was kind of the roots of this initial Assassin G story that was made into television again about 10 years ago. So when I decided to jump in and do this, I went through my father's entire collection. There's also a story where my father passed away 7 years ago. We were just celebrating his 7-year passing anniversary yesterday, because that was 7 years ago yesterday that he passed. So look, I have this emotional connection, of course, to my father's legacy, but importantly, I also want to kind of deliver to the Western world what the Eastern world has always loved about this particular story. It's no longer known as Gang the 19th Sister. It's now Assassin G. So I took it from ancient China, where the original story was based. We made it in 1982. So I'm a child of the 80s. So bring in that whole 80s synth pop to this mysterious assassin G character that is now trans-Pacific. It's really, really exciting. And I'm really proud of the work we've done. We've had a really great writer in Jen Troy who boarded the project. She's one of the writers for Supergirl in the DC universe. And we paired her up with a Chinese manhua artist, He Tao, who's just done phenomenal work. So there's a big story behind how Gaishin Jomei became Assassin G, and now we're entering the third. We're just really super happy to be sharing the third issue of this very storied comic with the world.
So how is it kind of following in your father's footsteps and taking his work and, putting your own spin or, continuing it?
It's humbling. It's really, I would have never thought that I'd get to do this. So I'm still kind of dumbfounded. And it's also an incredible privilege and honor. It's like our we not only share DNA, I'm also playing with, I'm playing with characters and stories that he started from. And in a way, I get to finish them.
Yeah.
My father wrote in a stream of consciousness. Like what he wrote every day was automatically printed. They just basically did some proofreading. They put it on a newspaper, and then a few years later, the book was done. So it was never had kind of like this refining process that I get to do right now, and then adapting it, of course, for the Western world where there's now technology, and kind of bringing in this modern conundrum that we're all part of. Like our world is getting pretty fucked up pretty quickly. How do we solve it? So these are things that I think the martial fantasy genre has a perspective. And also iterating on, like I'm a Kung Fu practitioner, and one of the main ethos of Kung Fu is just really believing that we're all infinite beings. And through this process of cultivation, we actually get to be heroes in our own lives. So that message is a timeless message, and it's incredibly relevant now. And being able to kind of step in my father's shoes and continue in that legacy, and really feeling that motivation from my own being, not because I'm his son, but because I love it, and I feel like that ethos of transformative storytelling in this particular genre that I know so well and love so well is a dream come true.
Yeah, it should be. God, so how much of your father's story? What you said it was finished. So are you recontextualizing his story,
Yes.
or are you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So but are you also continuing it?
It's both, because he had such a large body of work. In fact, we're building his memorial library in partnership with UCLA right now.
That's awesome.
He's one of the, I think he's the first Asian author who's been welcomed into the official UCLA archives. So we're building something called the Xiao Yi Wuxia Library at UCLA. So we have about 70 original stories that he wrote. That's part of the Immortal Storyverse. So we've only adapted a handful of them right now, and I've also created a few stories of my own. So it's intertwining them. So this is just the beginning of what will probably take more than my lifetime to complete, if ever.
It's a good thing you've got a good team of people around you, huh?
Yes. So it's really welcoming new talent, and so it's way bigger than just he and I right now. We're kind of riding this wave together, and I'm also thinking about how to preserve this genre for the next 1,000 years.
Yeah.
So I'm doing it with longevity in mind.
That's awesome. I mean, if you do it right, you can do this throughout the remainder of your life too. And I mean, it sounds like you.
That's the hope, and I'm glad. I've already gotten my daughter in the business. She's now an intern, and just really showing like, the life of her grandfather, my father, and she can see what I'm doing. And of course, I'm more than my father's son. I'm my own person, and so bringing all of that together.
Yeah.
Now, do you try to, bring some of that, into the stories that you're telling?
All of them. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, it's one big, really fun, dynamic sandbox.
So in Assassin G, what are some of the overarching themes that you're playing with?
I think the overarching theme is really examining vengeance. One of the biggest tropes in all films, especially the wuxia genre, is, hey, you killed my master. Right? We never really stop to think about it. It's like, hey, how useful is that?
Right. It's it's
when does it end, and what will it take for intergenerational hatred and to end? I think it's a fair question. So the question that Assassin G really asks, and thematically, is like, does love really trump hate?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the question that at the net is that's the question we ask, and in my father's version of it, it ended tragically. Now we have a more hopeful opportunity. So we're asking that question within the genre that's all about that, that frankly relishes vengeance.
Right. Right. So you're kind of taking the one of the main tropes of wuxia and turning it on its ear.
Yeah, exactly. Through a super badass assassin. And of course, there's so many other things. Like, this is a classic study of wuxia where it's not just the kung fu, although the kung fu is amazing.
Right.
And the visual language of it, how it looks and how it's practiced and how it's preserved in this really classic wuxia background. So it's the underworld, it's the poetry, it's the relationships, it's the laws governing that type of universe. It's just incredibly rich and nuanced and very, very authentic. One of the things that I'm really proud of what we're doing at Immortal is really bringing the authenticity of it, because I think so much of this has been stolen or borrowed or co-opted, and so it just really, in many places, it just becomes the stylized fighting as opposed to all the other elements that I'm talking about. So bringing that richness and that authenticity into one story has been super fun and super fulfilling. Super fulfilling.
Yeah, I'm sure it has.
Yeah. I can't, when I think about next year and we're starting the movie, or I'm already starting to work on the soundtrack, all those different characters, and, and being able to do this in partnership with our fans. For everybody listening, like we've in the course of building Immortal to this point, we literally have been supported by thousands of our fans and supporters. Like, without them, we wouldn't be here today. So it's really doing it in concert with them. For instance, I'm going to our readers and say, what do you like? What didn't you like? What resonated with you? What needs more work? So it's really having this back and forth. So it's not just, I'm the creator and they're over there. It's like we're really doing it together and being able to make these kind of adjustments. Those are things that never happened before.
Yeah.
So that way it makes it a real communal experience.
That's so awesome. I love the fact that you're involving fans like you are and really valuing their input. Yeah,
we polled them, and the next version of the Immortal journey is that we're actually going to be building fan. I don't even like to use the word fan because it means like, we're building communities around our storytelling, and we're actually giving members of our community a chance to participate. They get to vote up and down. They get first to like collectibles. They also meet the creators, where really kind of they get to join the sounding board. And for people who actually do the work, they're actually given also financial incentives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that
most
they can
definitely.
join our marketing team, and there's a smart way to track like what are they contributing and how do we honor them. So those are the things that we're building into how we're engaging our creative community, and so it's amazing for me to be in a place like this where I could talk about it and really invite people in.
Well, and especially when you're talking about a Kickstarter or any type of crowdfunding, right? Because
Yes.
if you're not engaging your audience and your fans, what are you even doing?
You're doing nothing then.
Exactly. You're just spinning your
Or it's
wheel.
being really disrespectful of people's time and people's passions, and I feel like fans do so much. They truly they love their properties. They interact. They become ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
They tell their friends. They also get look. I think we're all fans of something, and I think at its core, the idea that our storytelling could actually inspire others or help them get through different challenging chapters in their own lives, because ultimately these characters are there to do that.
Yeah.
Now, when you're, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Chad.
No, I was just gonna say, when you're, creating the characters, are there, certain, I don't say stereotypes that you try to avoid?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely. I think the big thing that I talked about earlier is the I think superheroes have been amazing. I loved them, but I think part of it has been that there's a lot of unearned superpowers that we're trying to stay away from. The accidental person that gets their power through radioactive spiders, or as though, or through alien technology, or, or some kind of cosmic dump, nuclear site, so the things that we stay away from are just like superpowers for its own sake. But we try to really get into what does it take, the difficult journeys that people have to be on in order to be powerful.
Right. And it speaks a lot to the quality of the person's character in this instance.
Yeah, it is. So yeah, it's becoming. And I don't think there's a one size fit all. So the examination of what makes heroes and what creates heroes authentically, it makes us very different than I would say a lot of the superhero tropes out there.
Is that
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
is that more of a built-in feature of wuxia, or is that?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
It is. Yeah, because wuxia is deeply married to the legacy of kung fu, and like for instance, I'm a member of the Shaolin Temple. I actually have been given access to kind of like the kung fu secrets. I'm there.
Cool.
So from that perspective, kung fu is a real thing. That kind of training, that kind of mind, body, spirit training is a real thing, and it has been known to create super humans since millennia. So wuxia taps into this kind of this way of thinking, this way of being, and it's real. So which is, I think, that's the allure, right? That's what keeps people coming back to kung fu. Mm-hmm. That's keeps figures like Bruce Lee and really front of mind, because you're just also getting kind of spiritual nutrition, if you will.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that being a real living tradition is something that I think makes what we do even extra cool and relevant.
Now, is there any characters that, in a story that's maybe minor characters that you've, kind of got a soft spot for, or grown attached to as even?
Oh, all of them. I mean, they're all my children. And many of these characters I literally grew up with. So first in a page, and then some of these characters I created from scratch as well. So they all have a soft spot in my heart, and I see myself, and frankly, not just the good things, the struggles, the shadows.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the art style. Is it more manga influenced or American
I would
style?
say, I wish I could put it up on screen. I don't know if there's a chance to show it. I would just invite for people who are interested to go and check us out. It's called Assassin G. It's on Kickstarter right now. I think it's up for another 2 more weeks.
Okay.
I chose a manhwa artist who has drawn both in the Chinese style, the Japanese style, and is also familiar with the American comics. He also is a major fan of the original television show and the novel. So it was important to, when we got He Tao on board, I knew that we found the right guy because he's assimilating all those things. He's reading the script from Jen. He knows that we're modernizing it, but then he also has like the book, the way my father wrote it. So he was able to weave it all together. So as a result, we have this kind of unique fusion blend. It's kind of hard to describe the style, but when you see it, he really captures. There's a lot of wuxia is also in the tone. It's describing the poetic sequences. It's like the way the wind is blowing, the way that this bird is chirping in the distance as this thing is happening. So he really captures the wuxia tone beautifully against the modern backdrop.
Cool.
So we're really proud of the tone, and in fact, this is the style that's going to influence our animated film.
Okay.
Now we're really building on top of that. I don't know if you guys have been watching what's been happening in the anime space. I've been geeking out super hard on Demon Slayer. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
I have not.
I have not.
I highly recommend it. Demon Slayer just became the top-selling foreign language film in America ever.
Wow.
It just surpassed Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it actually surpassed Superman.
Wow.
In global box office. So Demon Slayer started off as a manga, so it was a Japanese pulp kind of thing, and then it kind of so I would say Assassin G, it kind of has parallels there.
So looking at all of Immortal Studios, what other things do you have cooking besides Assassin G?
We have
other comics, I should say.
We've taken a 4-pillar approach. We call it the Immortal Storyverse, and there's 4 core titles, each of them in this kind of lane. And we have Assassin G, which is the second quadrant, and we also have another property called the Adept, which is a girl being trained in her dream by a dream master, and her dream master, his name is Fa Sheng, also has his own story, and that's known as Fa Sheng Origins. He's kind of like our Xavier, our Professor Xavier. He's the guy who's corralling it together. And another property, which is something that I wrote myself, called Chronicles of the Immortal Swordsman. So these four main pillars have been, we've been running them for the past 4 years. And now all of them are on the way to the next life of their property. That the graphic novels, the comics will continue, but along with their feature films and games.
Excuse me. That's so exciting. It sounds like you've got just a world of talent working with you and working on these projects. How do you do like quality control to make sure that everything stays at a certain level for Immortal Studios?
Well, I think I just shared some of the talent that's behind the scenes. They're considered, I think, the top of the top. We choose people who care about it as much as that we do. Because in the comic world, they're not really doing it for the money, right? They're doing it because they love it. This really scratches their itch. So a lot of it is really choosing people who have that, because they care about their work. They want to do good work. They love the message, and our mission to awaken the hero in everybody is something that resonates with them. And I find that that's the best way of doing it. People because they care, they're going to put forth their best. It's also not just a solo show. Of course, I delegate. So that way I have my team to thank for the consistent high level of quality we've been able to achieve.
So have you, I assume like you can get physical or digital versions of this. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
You can also get copies of all the other titles that I shared with you. So
right on.
There's so many starter packages. So I would just like to say, hey guys, the best way is just to check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And
I think we're bringing something really unique and different.
Yeah, it sounds like.
Oh,
go ahead, Chad.
This isn't. I assume this isn't your first experience on Kickstarter.
No. This is our. I think our 9th campaign.
Okay.
So we've been able to build consistently a community and voice, and I love it. You know, I especially I love our collectors and people who've been so loyal and enabled this kind of journey that's now really starting to take off.
Is there anything that you're noticing that's different with this campaign that hasn't been with the others?
Well, it's Kickstarter is becoming a very crowded place. You know, so I would say that the platform is changing, people are changing, and I think people's economic realities are changing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most definitely.
So there's this moment that everybody's trying to read. So so for us, it's just really to keep going.
Right.
Right.
So beside on the publishing side of things, like where do you have plans to expand beyond the 4 core titles?
Or absolutely. We already have a development. We've identified like our 10 other stories.
That's exciting.
We've been developing, so we're going to keep on doing it. But now that we have kind of more mature titles ready for adaptations, we'll be announcing shortly our entry into the film and game worlds. So our creativity is going to even expand as we start to take the things and the lessons and the stories and the things that we've learned in concert with our fans and our community, and now, you know, continue to wow them, not just with comics, but with everything else. So and then coming back to comics and going back. So I'm really looking forward to this way of launching stories, and ultimately it's about bringing more joy and wow to people who love our stories.
Well, and not just that, but I mean, it's, you know, between American comics, manga, whatever else is out there, like it's a crowded publishing space right now.
It is.
So it's hard to stand out. And it sounds to me like you guys have the business plan and the talent to make that happen.
Yeah, no, and clearly we're about something, right? So we're not just trying to make money and do whatever. So it's all of it. The creativity, the passion for our purpose, kind of living the hero's code.
Yeah,
and then having the right business model to support all of that.
Also important.
Yeah.
Also, I was going to say, it sounds like you've also taken it to some conventions. How's the response, you know, from the crowds there?
We've had great conventions. You know, I think the best. We've actually been able to sell out in Comic-Con. It was kind of like it was humbling to have a full house on a Saturday afternoon in 3 adjoined rooms. So we've had, but having said that, it's a very crowded place.
Sure.
Right. Conventions are tough because you're fighting. You're like one fan is there to do maybe 100 things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
one of which is Funko.
yes, exactly. So it's a crowded space. It's a crowded place, and lots of people have a lot of things to say. So in a way, conventions are great, but I think the business learning for me has been like, hey, you know, um, is to really be more active on where the fans are congregating, which is really online.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely been a game changer for the entire industry.
Yeah.
So,
And I think people who really understand that more and more will be able to take this industry to the next rightful chapter.
right on. So, tell us a little bit about the video game development. What studio are you working with, and what does that process mean?
We actually hatched our own internal game division. With
Oh,
our
wow.
we have a deep talent bench already. Like one of our VPs of content actually comes from Sega, where he cut his teeth developing some of the most successful games out there. So we have a deep development bench of our own. So we're developing several RPGs related to our titles, and then we are co-developing with other partners who bring kind of a different sensibility or different skill set. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of the way that we're doing it, because I think in adaptations, when you have a lot of storytelling being told by people who don't really know the canon or aren't as committed to it, and as a result, they become kind of slightly derivative, or they lean into the tropes, and they don't really give enough like Easter eggs or surprises. So being able to do games from the canon and from a creative team that deeply understands the lore, and then we can build in the interactivity to the comics themselves, so that there's payoffs also connected to the feature films and the different types of things that we're developing. It's really amazing. It's also hard.
Yeah,
And
no
it
doubt. When
adds
do
an
you
extra layer of complexity, but ultimately, like, it is about wowing our fans, right? And I think it's the same person. Like, I'm the same person who will play the game, read the comics, watch the short form content, go to the movie, and buy the merch. So knowing that it's the same person, I think it's just like, hey, if you care to spend more time with us, we're going to reward you triply, quadruply. Not with the same experiences, but like,
right?
you get to be part of this world in far more profoundly cool ways.
That's excellent, man.
Yeah.
Do
And
you
by the
have
way, it's
any? Oh,
never been
go
done
ahead.
before. So in this way, we're championing a new way. So in as much as, yes, we care about the comics, we care about those things, but we're also kind of navigating what it means to be a multi-platform entertainment studio in today's world, where it's not, oh, here we're a movie company, we're a game company. It's actually, those worlds are actually collapsing, and we are like this integrated version of it.
So what are some of some of the biggest challenges you face? Trying to do that.
Because we're creating new rules, new playbooks. So everything we do, we're breaking something, and that's inherently challenging for the industries that we're going into and disrupting. And it's also incredibly expensive.
Sure.
So being able to grow a company in this way that hasn't been done before is not easy. So I think, we've had to, just even get to this point, we had to really lean hard on the conviction and the passion, without which I wouldn't be here today. Because if it were just a straight business enterprise, we probably would have folded years ago.
Right.
So what's the biggest lesson that you've learned that you know now that you wish you knew when you began?
Coming doing Immortal in this way, I've never been front and center of like engaging with fans and fan activities. You know, I would have learned to be more consistent from day one. Yeah, I would say, not that we were inconsistent, but
okay.
You know, when you're telling stories with longer arcs, like how do you keep people engaged? It's still something that we're still scratching my head, because the last time our last Assassin G was sent, you know, I think published like a year ago, and during this past year, how do you keep people's engagement? It's like between seasons of shows, how do you really keep people? How do you keep people connected?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
I wish I knew.
integration we talked
I
about.
wish I knew this. This knowledge I have now at the beginning would have made a huge difference.
Sure.
Are there any, comic creators out there that you kind of like look to model your storytelling, so you can hope to do that?
They're kind of our collaborators. For instance, I really admired the work of Charlie Stickney, who's kind of like our what he did with the White Ash universe. He's also the writer of The Adept, our first comic. So he's one of our in-house creatives. But I just really value him and his experience being an indie creator and successfully kind of bringing people together without being like a social media influencer and still being himself. So I really value what he's done, and he's really we're spiritual cousins in this kind of bottom-up approach.
So, how has your distribution been for your comics from Immortal Studios? Because like one of the things that has really shifted in the last 5 years or more is comics distribution centers and chains and stuff like that. So how have you guys been navigating that world?
We've been, we were given a publishing deal. We were by Dynamite. So we were given very good distribution, but we opted not to pursue the regular cadence of comics, like monthly comics that didn't make sense. So we ultimately decided that we wanted to share, other than Kickstarters, which is kind of the breadcrumbs along the way, to really focus on finished graphic novels, so that when a fan sits down, they have like 100, 200 pages, and it tells them a complete story that they can identify with, and it has a natural arc. So we're focusing on that main strategy for our comics, to deliver completed graphic novels rather than every month you get this issue. So in doing so, we are really looking at succeeding as a book business rather than a comic business. Interesting.
Well, that also opens you up to be able to get into more like bookstores and book chains like that.
Like for instance, this past weekend I was at, I don't know if you guys have been to Barnes and Noble as of late.
I have, actually.
Massive changes, right?
Yeah.
The whole comic book section is now called manga.
Yeah.
Right? There's no more comics. It used to be, and it kind of just going there, it kind of tells you where the consumer behavior is at.
Yeah.
Right? It's anime, it's manga. Superheroes are like a few aisles now. It's maybe 10% of the graphic novel section, but the rest of it, it's also largely Eastern, if I can call it out. So those are the things that's kind of happening. We're kind of right there mixing it up. And shortly we're going to have our own Immortal section filled with graphic novels that's being produced in this way.
That's exciting, man. I can't wait to see it.
Well, I hope you guys will help support our current Kickstarter and get your hands on some of our titles, man. We're
Yeah.
really proud of them.
I'm sorry. Did you guys already cover what the what rewards you guys were offering for the Kickstarter?
We hadn't yet.
Yeah. Well, we have.
Oh.
Well, it's really we're not big on like a bunch of gadgetry. We're just really happy with the storytelling, and we just want people to really focus on our stories, and that's it.
That's it. Well, like
That's
you
it.
said in the beginning, like those kung fu stories, they speak to kind of larger truths about people and just the nature of humanity. And I think you've got a really good gateway and a good sense of what people want to read right then and there.
Yeah. So of course you could get like cool art and cool prints. There's a few hats and a few T-shirts, and we're also known for our Immortal logo. So this logo exists in many different places throughout the package as well. This is known as the Immortal Flame, so you get the Immortal Flame in many different ways. But ultimately, it's about the stories. And this Assassin G is also a gateway to everything else that we've done. Remember, I talked about Chronicles of the Immortal Swordsman, The Adept, which Charlie Stickney writes for us, or Fa Sheng that Ryan Grant writes for us. We have some really amazing stories, and this is a gateway onto that entire world. So this is the invitation. Heed our call and join the Immortal Storyverse.
Where do you hope to be, let's say, in 5 years with Immortal Studios and everything?
Well, I see us as kind of the global leader for the genre. So I see our stories being told at scale, and our motto of joining comic books and graphic novels and games and movies and short form content and fandom in a completely different kind of way. That's so I expect us to be one of the newest chapters of global pop culture. We call it the ancient future play because this has been around and we see it really rising up to meet this new moment in humanity with a new heroic lore that really excites and nourishes the people who are involved in them. So we see pop culture becoming a force for improving humanity, and we want to excite and lead that kind of global activation.
When you talk about global scale, and I love that you are thinking on a global scale, what does your footprint in Asia currently look like?
We're going to be working on distribution for all of our stories. We haven't focused on Asia up until this moment, but now that we are doing the movies and the games, we'll be unveiling a trans-Pacific pipeline. So landing into a variety of distinct markets, beginning with China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Korea, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. We have footprints in all of those places, and we're going to speak to fans in the indigenous language in all of those areas. So all of those things are on our docket, not to mention other Western markets.
Right.
So there's a global grid. Everything up until this point has been kind of an IP storyverse incubation period. Now that we've kind of matured and we've solidified the stories, and our canon is clearly emerged from this process, we're now ready to set it all on fire.
Awesome.
And one story, one conversation, one Kickstarter at a time.
Yeah. No, I love that. You guys are geared up for world domination, it sounds like.
Yes, if we're lucky enough to do it. It requires.
So, the Assassin G is it's a 4-issue story. This is the 3rd issue. Am I correct?
This is a what?
I said, is it a 4-issue story arc, or is it going to be like an ongoing type thing for you guys?
Assassin G has a beginning, middle, and end, so it will end one day. It's not
Okay.
going to be in perpetuity. And that's another piece of our stories like that. Our stories actually do end.
That's important.
Yeah. Or there's a culmination.
Right.
But it's not going to end anytime soon.
Well, that's also good.
Yeah.
Especially since we've got those 4 pillars in place.
But keep it in mind, like Assassin G actually has, because of this really beautiful history behind it. It has many, like hundreds of millions of fans across the world. So I'm also responsible for them. And in this next chapter, whereas we've been developing the English language version of Assassin G, the next step when we actually create the movie is we're going to be joining those worlds together. And so I'm looking forward to see how people respond from the East and the West to this new uptake. By the way, here's a picture of my dad I wanted to share. You know, the creator of, here he is wearing his Dodger hat. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, this is so it's kind of interesting having this conversation while he looks on.
Well,
never in a million years did I think that our professional lives would converge.
Right? Did you have, before you realized you were going to follow in your father's footsteps, did you have any other creative
I did. I was in my own right. I had already produced my own movies. I've sold my own shows. I was an independent creator in my own right, and you know, I was able to really cut my teeth on my own vision and things. So coming back to him and joining forces later on in life felt like it was the right thing to do. You know, so I was really, yeah, I developed myself independently, and then choosing to come back, I think that was a big step. And,
well, it kind of sounds like
also disagreeing with him at times.
Sure.
You know, yeah.
Disagreeing.
He pushes back on me, and I push back on him, and so it's just like we get better, and then just really learning. And it's also something that I brought to the Immortal Storyverse is kind of this lived experience of living the martial kung fu life. And
right. Well, I was going to say, it sounds like an arc, like a hero's journey type arc in its own way. You know, the young man branches out on his own and then realizes he needs to come home. In a way.
All of that, man. All of that. And I knew that running a company whose mission is to awaken the hero in everybody, I had to do it. I had to live it out myself too. And honestly, just the prospect of running this company, creating it from scratch, and then adapting it and pulling the resources, good, like all of it. Frankly, it's been the most challenging. It's been one of the most challenging things I've ever done.
Sure.
Not the most challenging, you know, it's been difficult at every step. So I just keep having to reinvent myself and tap into resources and a strength that I frankly didn't know I had to even get to this point.
What do you think the biggest lesson you learned working with your father on this is, and how do you think it'll make you a better creator going forward?
It's a really great question. The biggest lesson I've learned, wow. Stick to my guns. Yeah. Because look, because he's considered a master, he's reached a level in his field that is kind of untouchable in a way. Like his legacy is already cemented. But to not take that for granted and continue to ask the hard questions,
right?
And to not just settle for that.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, who doesn't believe? Who is going to believe in you?
Yeah. Yeah, and just knowing that he has his lane and I also have mine, and part of that is joining forces, right? So just really charting a new course and trusting myself.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Payhuan, thank you so much for your time this evening. I've really enjoyed this talk. It's been educational and fun. So that's twofer.
Thanks for having me, and thank you for your support. And for people watching, please check us out, Assassin G on Kickstarter.
Yes.
Just love to share this history and this entire story with everybody.
And
I was
there's
gonna say
about
we
2
could let him do.
campaign.
We could let him do a pitch for it. One last pitch.
Yes. One last pitch. Assassin G is one of the most storied wuxia stories ever, and we're really honored to present it authentically through American comics for the first time. So please join us in this historic effort to readapt and modernize this wuxia classic. And personally, this is a dream come true for a son to collaborate with his father. And I would love for you to read our stories and see what we're building here and become part of it. So please consider backing this Assassin G on Kickstarter right now.
And we will continue. And we'll continue to follow it throughout the campaign on our weekly roundup over on Comic Watch on Saturdays.
Thank you so much for your support and the great work that you guys do to keep the fandom strong.
Well, thank you very much for everything you're doing. We couldn't do it without strong creative voices in the mix. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week with Mr. Mark Russell to talk about all things Thanksgiving.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, in the meantime, get out there and do some good in the world, and we will see you at comic-watch.com. Until next time, folks.